Well, let's start with the simple stuff, and that is the fact that this starts in earnest next week, where people can start doing absentee voting. What do people need to know right off the cuff?
In-person absentee voting begins on Monday, October 5th at the North Charleston Coliseum. And it's actually going to be at the south entrance where the ticket box office is. So we have a great partnership this year. The city of North Charleston allowed us to use the Coliseum for the entire absentee voting period. So there'll be plenty of room, plenty of parking for voters. And the only thing they need is their photo ID. And that's what they'll do to present to vote in person at that location. So really the most common question we're getting is, do I need to pre-register? No, just show up, have that photo ID ready. All voters qualify to vote absentee for this election with a state of emergency that was issued by Governor McMaster. That is one of the excuses for us in this presidential election coming up.
So you get the opportunity to do this at the Coliseum. Is that the only location? Because I know in previous years there have been other places where you could go.
Yeah, so starting October 19th, we will open up 3 additional locations. So most voters are familiar with the Seacoast, West Ashley, and the Seacoast, Mount Pleasant as being locations used for our bigger elections. But we're also adding the downtown Charleston County Library right off Calhoun will be open on that 19th as well. And all the locations, all 4 will be open 2 Saturdays, the 24th and the 31st of October from 9 a.m. to 1. And this is just an opportunity to give voters more opportunities to cast their absentee in-person ballot at many locations across the county. But the distinction here is those are only open from the 19th through November 2nd. The Coliseum will be open all 4 weeks, and the last day at the Coliseum will be November 2nd as well. And we've just seen a huge, just kind of, I would say, public support for opening more locations. And it's something our office, we wanted to do. And fortunately, the Charleston County Library opened its doors for us to use for this election.
You talked about registering. You do have to register if you want to get that absentee ballot in the mail. If you've already done that and you've requested that absentee ballot, can you still go do it in person?
Yes, you can definitely vote in person absentee. Now, here's the biggest thing we're asking for voters. If you've been mailed an absentee ballot, please bring that ballot with you to surrender. And I think one of the biggest thing our office is trying to do right now is to kind of counter the misinformation out there about absentee voting. Absentee in person or absentee by mail is all under the umbrella of absentee voting. It's the same application that the voter will fill out. You still need that reason, which everyone qualifies for in this election, but it all is absentee voting. So if you've been mailed a ballot, you can just go and fill that out, drop it at the absentee satellite location. So one of our locations that I said earlier, and you give it to an election official. So you're giving it right to our office, and those are getting processed as received in our system when it comes back to our office and then open on election day. And in-person absentee voting is similar. If you vote on the machines, those results are not tabulated until election night at 7 p.m. So if you've been mailed that absentee ballot and you really, 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 really want to vote in person, please bring that with you so you can cast it as a spoiled ballot, and that way you can vote on the machine there. And that will just kind of speed up our process in processing you.
Because it'll show up in the computer when you sign in that you've already been mailed one. So unless
Correct.
you have that, you won't be allowed to vote.
So there are extreme circumstances, Brad, that I think, people can go out of town for emergency reasons, especially with COVID. There are a lot of things going around our country, and sometimes you might be leaving for business, and things happen. So no, it's not a requirement to surrender that ballot, but we're asking that you do that because every single voter who's been mailed a ballot and they want to vote in person are going to be told about SLED, and we don't want you to return that ballot under any circumstance, because once you vote in person, you're being marked as voting in person. If that ballot ever made it back to our office, we would immediately talk to SLED about it, and they would be giving you a phone call.
So that it just triggers a whole lot of problems your way if you try to vote twice.
Yeah, I mean, one, it's a felony. It's illegal, and we're training a lot of workers to work our offsite locations right now, and that's one of the things. Our office, we're open, we're transparent, and if anybody tries to vote absentee and then try to go election day, you're going to be marked as voting absentee in the system. So you're going to be given a provisional ballot, and once we see that you've already returned that ballot, we will give that information over. And this is not something that we just joke about. This is real. This is serious. And we want people to know that your ballot, your vote, it counted, and it was securely, it was done freely and fairly, and that there's no other thing going on behind the scenes. We're an open and transparent office. As you know, you've done absentee voting, and I do absentee voting. My wife and I, we both vote by mail. So this is something we really hold up in our office with integrity.
What about the people who have requested the ballots be mailed to them? Have some people already gotten them? When will they be getting them? How long does that take? And when should they expect to see them?
So all of absentee ballots for Charleston County will be mailed out on Friday, October 2nd. So you should be expecting it early next week. We just did a test run because we want to make sure 100%. It took over the weekend, and today some of the test ballots that we've mailed out have arrived, and we have tracking on all our on our website at vote.charlestoncounty.org. There's a tracking button, so if you press it, you put your information in, you can see where your ballot is in the mail stream, and then when it's been received by our office and accepted, you'll also get a notification of that. So on Friday it will go out. Hopefully Monday or Tuesday next week, majority of our voters will receive their ballots, and all our absentee ballots for returning have postage paid on them. So if you want to mail it back, you can. If you want to drop it off at the Coliseum, during the first 2 weeks, there'll be a drive-through lane. You don't even have to get out of the car. You'll hand your ballot to an election official. They'll be verified, and then you just leave. You don't have to come into the building. You don't have to worry about COVID. You don't have to worry about parking and then walking. You just get into a drive-through lane, hand it to an election official.
Outside of absentee, we're also approaching other deadlines here as we get closer to Election Day. What else is something that voters need to be mindful of, whether they're voting absentee or they're planning to vote regular Election Day in person?
Yeah, Brad, I think this is one of the things that our office is really trying to communicate. If you want to vote absentee in person or absentee by mail, do it. If you want to vote on Election Day and that's what you want to do, we do it. Just vote. I mean, that's the biggest thing, is your vote is your voice. So many men and women have fought for that right. So don't take it for granted. And also with that, you have to be mindful of the deadlines coming up for registering. So if you're not a registered voter, the in-person deadline is October 2nd. This Friday at 5 o'clock. But also you can register online at sevotes.gov. As long as your driver's license is up to date, you can do online voter registration up until 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, October 4th. And then the postmark, if you want to mail it in, the postmark is by October 5th. So just make sure you do it now rather than later. Don't wait for it. If you know you need to register right now, go ahead and do that. If you need to change your address, you're already a Charleston County registered voter. You can do that at any time this month, but do it sooner than later. That way we can get you your updated voter registration card where your polling location will change. But if you have any questions of your voter registration information, go to sevotes.gov and you can see your information right there live in the system.